What is up, guys? It is Joe. We are back. We're talking ball about the Cats, and in today's video, we are talking about basketball recruiting, specifically one player in the class that is a massive name. We're talking about a 5-star guard interested in Kansas State. Before I do jump in on the prospect in today's video, let me tell you this. Guys, if you like the channel, be sure and consider subscribing. It does help me out, and it keeps my videos in your feed. As an extra piece of bonus content, I'm also getting a K-State tattoo on the left thigh once we cross the 3,000 mark, so be sure and help us get there. But guys, like I said, the nation's third-ranked player is interested in Kansas State. In the class of 2025, we were talking about 5-star combo guard Darryn Peterson. Learn the name, love it, get used to it, because that dude is a beast, and I'm excited to talk about our boy. Now, Darryn Peterson released his top 8 cut-down list the other day. It's a couple days old now. I believe it was Wednesday. You know, when it dropped, you're watching this likely on Friday. Peterson released his cut-down list of Ohio State, USC, Kansas, Kentucky, Arizona State, Washington, Louisville, and Kansas State. So the Cats continuing to strike gold in recruiting the class of 2025. K-State has now made a couple of different cut-down lists and had some big successes already. Obviously, there's still a long way to go on a couple of these different dudes, but let me talk about Darryn Peterson. I'm going to start by tossing this up, but let me tell you a little bit more about Peterson. Now, he checks in as a 5-star prospect on the 247 Sports Index, as well as the third-ranked player in the country, the number 1 player at his position, a combo guard, and the number 1 player in the state of West Virginia. He played at Huntington Prep in Huntington, West Virginia. The 6'5", 195-pound guard is an absolute beast. Peterson is an absolute dog. Let's get that right now. Now, looking through his list, I don't want to say that I was shocked or surprised. Kansas State can win this battle, and that's not the surprising part. I'm not going to sit here and say that. That's not the case, but I really thought there'd be more luck with a couple of different programs. I am stoked to see the list we have ahead of us. Not to say that's like disrespect to any of the programs. I'm not trying to make it sound like that, but, you know, Ohio State, USC, you know, you've got a lot of teams on this list that are getting new coaches that are trying to get that new wave started of basketball. Obviously, you've got Kentucky and Kansas, but even in the case of Kentucky, new head coach, we know Mark Pope will be successful, but there's a little bit of give and take with all that. Louisville, similar situation with Pat Kelsey. Washington, I don't know much about them. I know they landed Great Osibor through the portal, but the point of what I'm trying to say is K-State is in this battle. They are heavy in this battle. They are in the driver's seat towards landing a 5-star prospect under Jerome Tang. Straight out of high school. Get a McDonald's All-American kid that's going to be Team USA material for the next couple of years and be an absolute stud, potential one-and-done NBA guy. We'll talk about my thoughts about what his career looks like at Kansas State and more. But let me continue down this list. I'm going to read you some comments from Adam Finkelstein. He's the director of director of scouting for 247. This is what he had to say about our guy, Darryn Peterson. He possesses a combination size, length, strength, and skill which allows him to smoothly score and makes plays for himself and others. He's a versatile threat who can operate from multiple spots on the floor and has a way of making it look effortless in the process. He can play both on and off the ball, has a very good pull-up game, and is a consistent shooting threat off the catch behind the three-point line. He's also willing to bring smaller guards to the low post. Peterson sees the floor well and can facilitate for others around him. He also has an advanced understanding of how to get himself to the free throw line. So there's the quick comments there. We love all of that. I like the fact that you can see it in his game exactly the way that Adam Finkelstein's talking about it. You see it. He's taking smaller guards to the post. He's doing everything both ways. I don't know if it was quite, evaluated well enough at the time. Maybe this is an outdated review, but this is June 1st. Forget what I'm saying. The dude has showed so much defensive prowess that needs to be talked about. That dude can play on both sides of the ball and be such an effective two-way scorer. The dude can lock you up from 90 feet. The dude can also go out and run out in transition. You can see the athleticism. You can see the ability he has. This is a grown man playing against boys. At Kansas State, when you get to college basketball, Darryn Peterson is still going to be an absolute monster. Though the competition level changes once you get to college, the dude is college ready. The dude is NBA ready. This is a guy that can step on campus, immediately compete for a starting job. Let's get that right here, right now. Now, this isn't the first guy we've talked about in the class of 2025. K-State has made the cut-down list for a couple dudes. Cam Ward, they're in on Nigel Walls, they're in on Malik Thomas, a couple of different people, but Darryn Peterson is your headliner of the class. This is the nation's number 3 ranked player, and I know ratings aren't everything, but Kansas State is here for a reason. Let's talk about this. When you see a team like Kansas State, 2 years ago you get a new head coach, and you're in a conversation to win multiple 4- and 5-star guards 2 years later, 2.5 years later. Jerome Tang took the job 2 off seasons ago. Dude got the summer job. Now you're in a spot where you're already competing for national headlining prospects. Think about how much work that takes. This is something that people look at and say, Kansas State, it's weird that they're winning so many games, or it's weird that they have such a great roster in such a short time. We, as fans, understand why it happens, but the national media is still catching up to that. With guys like Jerome Tang, like Jareem Dowling, like Coach U, like everybody on their staff, they move different. They move so different that they're allowed to get in these conversations so much quicker than every other program in the country because you can see the real genuine approach these dudes have. It's not just a one-track, hey, this is what we think you can do as a basketball player. This is a thing where we think you're going to average 15 and 8 as a freshman. You're going to go to the NBA, and it'll all be great. You can say all that. Every program in the nation can say that about Darryn Peterson. Kansas State offers so much more than that. Think about this. We've all seen so much of these highlights from the alumni game recently. You had guys like Marquise Noel, Keontae Johnson, Dean Wade, Barry Brown, Cam Stokes is back. A couple of the older guys like Justin Edwards. A couple of guys came back to talk about what it means to be a Wildcat. It's one of my favorite things about the offseason when Coach Tang brings back the dudes for an alumni game to give some of the dudes work. Also, I should have mentioned Tyler Perry. It's my fault. TP was a big part of that too. He brings back the dudes that, hey, we know what it takes to compete on this court, to play for K-State, to play Kansas State basketball. We know what it means to wear that Wildcat. We know what it's going to mean to you. They all come back, they give their advice, they whip up on the young guys or vice versa. We don't ever really seem to know how the scores end up, but there is so much appreciation and love for the moment of what they're in. Whether it's guys that go one and done, like Marquise was there for 2 seasons, but he played for both Bruce Weber and Coach Tang. Keontae's there for 1 season, then goes to the NBA. The adoration that these guys have for this coaching staff is not lost on me, and nor should it be on anybody. This is something that Coach Tang does differently. The dude is a universal figure that loves, inspires, motivates. His players love Jerome Tang. I mean, this is a father figure. This is a guy. This is a role model. And I'm not saying you can't get that at a program like Washington or at a program like Arizona State or Kentucky, whatever the case is. But there is so much more love involved in Kansas State's basketball program. It's not just a situation of, hey, we'll get you to the league, you'll go there, you'll have success, it'll be great. You're not just another brick in the wall. You are the wall. You're part of this group. Like, this is a thing that every single person is unanimously loved across the board by the fans, the coaching staff, the players. Everybody contributes to get a lot out of this. This is the idea. So for Darryn Peterson, he's got visits set up on the board. He's got a couple of different stops already scheduled. Kansas State, it sounds like it'll be in August. I'd prefer to get him there in September so we can see the bill get there, but enough students will be back. It'll be a thing where everybody in Manhattan needs to buy in. This is a kid that you go all in on. This is a kid that you want in your starting lineup to put that next wave of NBA athlete in Manhattan, Kansas. Jerome Tang continues to find these guys. He continues to find the dudes that are going to continually change the culture for the better. Darryn Peterson could be that next guy. So when you look at all these programs on the board, I don't want to make it sound like I'm just saying these other programs stink, K-State's the option because it's the best. That's not what I'm saying. But it is such a different thing that Kansas State has to offer than anybody else does. Kansas, obviously, you can sell their national history. Kentucky as well, kind of. It's a little bit different now. That's a different head coach, but still, the program has a historic tradition. They also lost to Kansas State, not important. But you look across the board and you see young head coach at Louisville, Pat Kelsey. I think he's going to be a terrific coach. I think he's the right man for the job. New head coach at USC. Ohio State, I got to tell you, I don't know much about their basketball program. Arizona State, they're probably going to get beat up on for a while in the Big 12, but you see what it takes to create such an incredible franchise like what Kansas State has now. One of the most successful athletic departments in the country. A guy like Darryn Peterson comes to K-State. He's a starting guard for your team. Whether you run him at the 2 or the 3, it's kind of up to how the roster builds around him. You bring a top 5 freshman into your team, McDonald's All-American kid that's likely going to be a one-and-done dude. You pair him with some talented names in the portal. Obviously, this year is a good example. You pair him with the Coleman Hawkins. You pair him with the Doug McDaniel. You pair him with guys that have a lot of college basketball experience at a high level. This is a team that can go far. I know that they won't overlap. I'm not trying to make it sound like they will, but the idea is that the staff is continuing to hit things out of the park. Whether that's in the portal, whether that's high school recruiting, whether it's coaching, whether it's, anything in the offseason, they seem to continually hit things out of the park. And getting Darryn Peterson to Manhattan is going to be the next thing on that road. They continually write this narrative of success. Every single day you got to get 1% better. Darryn Peterson makes you better. This is a dude that can come to Kansas State, develop, go to the NBA, but also enjoy his time in college. It's not a time where you look back and forget, oh man, it was really great. I was only there for 1 season though. So now I'm on to, the Memphis Grizzlies or the Chicago Bulls, wherever I'm headed next. That's what I'm focused on. You want to have that love. You want to be cherished for college, NBA, high school. You want that love and adoration. Come to Kansas State. You want praise, adoration, national scales. Come to the Big 12. It's the best basketball conference in America. That's the opportunity that he has here. So I look at this list. I'm not going to say it's out of the question that he goes somewhere else, but I think the team you got to beat there is Kansas. You beat your rival down the road. I think you get Darryn Peterson on your roster. Some of these other teams could make a play. I know that Kentucky's got Kentucky's stuff to sell, but it is a possibility that Kansas State lands this kid. And I got to tell you what, this is the right dude to bring in. I would be so excited to see Darryn Peterson wear that purple, get to be a Wildcat under Jerome Tang, and take the next steps towards his pro career in Manhattan, Kansas, in the happiest place on earth, I might add. It's a beautiful thing to talk about, and I'm excited to see what happens next. But I'll wrap it up by saying whether this works out, whether it doesn't, you got to commend the staff for getting to these conversations, getting into the playing field with some of these national guys. It shows the difference there. You feel something different around this basketball staff than you do anywhere else in the country. it continues to get things right on the track for Kansas State basketball for a bright and beautiful future. So my friends, that's going to do it for today's video talking about Darryn Peterson. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching. Thank you so much for all the continued support. We're getting closer and closer to football season. We'll have a lot of content on that. But guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I will talk to you soon. Go Cats!